Good afternoon once again, and thank you for joining us. Welcome to the English Language Information Session regarding the recently launched call for proposals under the Regional Connectivity Envelope Program, popularly called RCE. My name is Julius Egbeyemi, and I'm the Deputy Director of the team responsible for this program at Global Affairs Canada. I'm joined today by my colleague, Alara Osden, one of the project officers on our team. Today's information session will focus on the objectives of the call for proposal, details of the RCE program, the mandatory documents to be provided with your project proposal, and the steps we will follow to evaluate it. We will then review the answers to questions that were submitted prior to the session. Please know that we will not answer questions live. If you still have questions after this session, you're welcome to submit them via our email box. We will answer them on the call for proposal page on the Global Affairs website in the coming days. We will accept and process questions until September 11th. This session will be recorded and will also be available for review on the call page. Before I go further, I wanted to say that this is the second call for proposal under the RCE. From the first call, we allocated $4 million to successful projects.
The call for proposals was launched on July 24 and will remain open for submissions until September 18 at 12 p.m. noon Eastern Daylight Time. Organizations must submit their proposal through the new Collaboration at International portal. The call page provides detailed instructions on how to register and submit your proposal package. We recommend ensuring your organization is registered on the portal and that you have access as soon as possible to avoid delays. We also advise submitting your proposal before the deadline to avoid any technical issues. Late submissions will not be accepted. You will notice that all mandatory documents required to submit an application must be downloaded from the portal and are only visible once the organizational profile is completed. We recommend that only one member per organization create a profile to upload and submit an application in order to avoid duplicate organizational profiles. It is not possible for more than one member to register under the same organizational profile. It is the responsibility of each organization to coordinate internally for submissions. If you have technical questions regarding the Collaboration International portal, or if you would like us to verify your organizational profile, please send us an email at rce-ecr@international.gc.ca or register for a technical support session. The link is available on the call page for assistance. The Regional Connectivity Envelope program is part of the Indo-Pacific Engagement Initiative. Together, the 5 IPEI programs aim to increase Canada's presence in the Indo-Pacific region and develop new knowledge. The RCE is designed to connect Canadian researchers and institutions, including academic institutions, research institutes, think tanks, cultural organizations and associations, chambers of commerce, or nonprofit business associations, advocacy groups, including those representing Indigenous peoples, women, youth, and LGBTQ+. It also aims to raise Canada's profile in the region, accelerate Canada's ability to develop or access influential networks, and form strategic partnerships. The main goal of the enhanced engagement will be to facilitate or participate in events in the Indo-Pacific region or in Canada. You must choose an eligible project activity category and indicate whether your organization will facilitate or participate in the event. Applicants must select one primary project category for this initiative. If a secondary category is proposed, the applicant must demonstrate how it relates to the primary category. For example, if your primary category is research, the secondary activity should be conference under the knowledge sharing category aimed at disseminating the research findings. Under participation, you can attend a conference, event, training, or conduct research without leading or playing a key role in its implementation. Under facilitation, you can organize or co-organize a conference, event, training, or conduct research and play a key role in its implementation. Eligible project activity categories are knowledge sharing or creation, which could include conferences, workshops, roundtables, and expert group discussions, and training, research, cultural activities, and activities focused on reconciliation with Indigenous people.
Eligibility. To be eligible, projects must meet each requirement and, where stipulated, provide supporting documentation. Your organization must be legally incorporated in Canada and can provide a Canada Revenue Agency business number. Or if your organization is an Indigenous organization or government in Canada, your organization must provide supporting documentation about its history, governance structure, and/or ownership. Please note that consortiums are not eligible for this program. Only one Canadian organization collaborating with one organization from the Indo-Pacific region per proposal is permitted. Furthermore, sovereign entities, governments, for-profit organizations, multilateral institutions, and individuals are not eligible. Each eligible organization may submit up to 4 proposals. Organizations must coordinate internally to develop the proposals. If an organization submits more than 4 proposals, any additional submissions beyond the limit will be rejected.
The call page outlines the mandatory project parameters for this call for proposals. We'll quickly go over them. Your proposed project must start after April 1st, 2026 and end before March 31st, 2028. You may request Global Affairs Canada funding of at least $20,000 and no more than $250,000. If the total project value exceeds $40,000, the organization must provide at least 15% of the total project value. Your application should identify an Indo-Pacific regional organization who is based in the region and how they will be meaningfully support the project's implementation. Your proposed project duration should be no longer than 2 years. The geographic focus project should be in the Indo-Pacific, in Canada, or in both regions. You must identify at least one intermediate outcome and one immediate outcome based on the project's activity category. The project you propose must be linked to one or more of the strategic objectives of Canada's Indo-Pacific strategy. Note that identifying multiple objectives will not provide any advantage in the selection process, but you are free to do so. Finally, your application package documents should be completed and submitted in either English or French. Under this call for proposals, your project must contribute to achieving the following ultimate outcome, which is improved consideration of the shared interest of Canada and stakeholders in the Indo-Pacific region in key developments related to security, trade, people-to-people ties, climate, and Canada's engagement in the region. In addition, your project must contribute to one intermediate outcome and one immediate outcome based on the category of your project. For example, if your project is a research project, it must contribute to the intermediate outcome for the research category. In this case, it's 1300, increased collaboration between Canadian academics and researchers with their Indo-Pacific colleagues, identifying at least one indicator for this outcome, and also demonstrate how the project contributes to at least one of the 2 immediate outcomes, such as 1310 or 1320, or both. The list of project categories mentioned earlier, along with the associated outcome for each, can be found in the application form. While choosing intermediate and immediate outcomes, you're free to identify more than one category, but note that no preference will be given to projects that fall under multiple categories. You must also identify the indicators you will use to measure the project's performance in achieving these outcomes. For each indicator you provide, be sure to specify the data collection method and frequency. Please refer to the Guide to Results-Based Management, which you can find in the call page.
A detailed budget is required when applying for funding. You must list the expenses related to your project and estimate Global Affairs Canada's contribution by fiscal year. All costs must be directly related to your project activities. On the screen, you can see a non-exhaustive list of eligible expenses for the RCE program. Under this call for proposals, some expenses are not eligible. You can also see the list on the screen. It is important to know that overhead costs are not eligible under the RCE program. Overhead costs or indirect costs are defined as expenses that cannot be clearly attributed to a specific project. Please ensure that these expenses are not included in your budget.
Let's now move on to the section about the Indo-Pacific Organization. Under this program, Canadian organizations must identify an Indo-Pacific organization with which they will collaborate. This relationship will be further defined in the RCE project collaboration attestation. An Indo-Pacific regional organization may be a non-governmental or governmental organization from the Indo-Pacific region, including the same types of organization as was already mentioned in the Canadian applicants. Additional points to note are, it is preferable that the organization be registered in its country of origin, but proof of registration is not required for the IPO regional organization under the scope for proposals. Previous experience with the IP organization is not required. The Indo-Pacific Regional Organization may not be a branch or subsidiary of the Canadian organization. And finally, the Indo-Pacific Organization cannot apply to this call for proposals.
This slide presents a list of eligible countries or economies for project proposals. Please note that projects may take place in one or more countries in the Pacific region. It is up to the applicant to determine the most relevant location for their project. Note also that this program will not fund activities in Myanmar or the Democratic People's Republic of Korea due to travel advisories issued by the Government of Canada. Please consult the Government of Canada's travel advice and advisories before submitting your application, as this program will not fund proposals in economies or region within a country where the TAA recommends avoiding all travel in the red category or non-essential travel in the orange category. We have published the assessment criteria, which details how we will evaluate your project proposal. We encourage you to take a look at this page as you develop your application to ensure a comprehensive and competitive proposal. This page is also linked on the call page.
We will now review the mandatory documents to be submitted with your application. Please see the complete list of documents that you're required to complete and submit. They include the RCE proposal application form, a letter of incorporation or proof of legal status, 2 financial statements for most recent fiscal year where audited statements are preferred, but if not available, statements may be signed by a member of the board of directors or a delegate, the budget template, and complete RCE attestation of collaboration. Additionally, we require 2 document standards to call for proposals processed at Global Affairs Canada, the Anti-Corruption Declaration, and the Declaration regarding outstanding debts to His Majesty. You can download these directly off the portal, and please ensure they are completed and signed as per their instructions. These documents must have been signed and dated within the last 6 months of your proposal date of submission. Now we will go over the responses to questions. You can also find the responses on our call page under additional information. General. Projects in one Indo-Pacific location are not automatically ranked as a higher priority than a project in another. However, projects are evaluated to determine their alignment to Canada's Indo-Pacific strategy and how the project location is aligned to the themes of the project. Current applicants cannot access a list of previously successful applicants from the 2024 RCE call for proposals at this time. The RCE initiative is designed to align with Canada's Indo-Pacific strategy. As long as proposed activities align with one of the 5 strategic objectives, Eligible organizations may organize or participate in events and activities under this framework. Components of a project may take place online. However, there needs to be a physical connectivity element in the proposal. Eligibility. University-affiliated research groups are eligible to apply separately from the university's central research office if they have a distinct CRA registration number. The call for proposals page uses proposal and project interchangeably. Each proposal would become one project if approved. With the proposal, applicants must select one main project category for this initiative. If a secondary category is proposed, the applicant must demonstrate how it is related to the main project category. Artistic-related activities are eligible for funding under this program as long as they're directly related to the project. Financial. Cost share contributions must be directly tied to the specific activities of the project. If the RCE project is part of the larger initiative, only the costs that are directly related to the RCE component can be counted as cost share. If the total project costs exceed $40,000, DAC will provide 85% of the total eligible direct project costs. In their budget form, organizations must provide the total project value and determine their cost share. On the final page of the sheet, it will show if the cost share is compliant. The call for proposals does not specify a fixed percentage for administrative costs. All eligible expenditures, including coordination and administrative costs, must be directly related to the project activities. Personnel costs for training sessions is an eligible expense under remuneration, and the project funds can be used to support participation of both Canadian and Indo-Pacific participants. Funding floors and ceilings are on a per proposal basis, not by organization. For example, an eligible organization can submit 4 proposals up to $250,000 each. Costs of coordination, administration, implementation directly related to the organizing an event is an eligible cost under personnel. RCE funds can be used to cover travel costs for the participation of non-Canadian government officials and Indigenous group officials to the RCE project. Cost share is calculated on the total project cost, not DAC's contribution. It is not necessary to hire a new staff to work on the RCE project. It is up to the applicant to demonstrate and justify the salary of the staff for tasks directly related to the RCE project.
Region or Indo-Pacific organizations. The Indo-Pacific regional organizations may consist of a non-governmental organization, a government agency, department or ministry, or an organization representing a larger network from the Indo-Pacific region. While the proposal must identify one Indo-Pacific regional organization as a primary partner, the scope of the project itself can span several countries. If Canadian organizations chooses to submit more than one proposal, they may collaborate with different Indo-Pacific organizations for each proposal. Each organization must submit one completed RCE project attestation of collaboration. If an organization would like to submit additional RCE project attestations of collaboration or a letter of support, they are welcome to, but it is not necessary. Forms. The Anti-Corruption Declaration and the declaration regarding outstanding debts to His Majesty must have been signed and dated within the last 6 months of the proposal's date of submission. This concludes the information session on the RCE. If you have sent us questions in the past 24 hours, and if they have not been answered or clarified during this session, please check the call page for updates in the coming days. And if after this session, you still have questions about this program, you're invited to submit them via our email inbox. We will respond to them on the call for proposal page. We'll ask and process questions until September 11th. Thank you very much for listening, and I wish you the very best. Thank you.